start, okay? There are a few people coming right here, but thanks for coming. Actually, one thing I'll tell you right off. I mentioned there's a world premiere of a musical composition tonight, and this sheet has the lyrics on the back and the story on the front. And there's 6 people involved in this, all listed here, and they each, including myself, have a pen to sign autographs on these. And when this song wins a Grammy, the price of these will go through the roof. So I strongly recommend that you get all 6 to sign. And Oswaldo, right there, he's hard to find because he only works here at night. But Ruth, you know where our office is, I'm sure. And you can track these other people down as well. We'll go ahead and start right now. But I should begin with an apology. You can blame it on Ruth Sunil and on my wife, Artis, but that picture in the elevator of Paul Newman, notice I didn't put a name around it, but I asked them both, does that look better with Paul's face on it or mine? And so it was 3-0, yes. So here we are. Just an aside, I don't remember what it was, but a couple of years ago, the business school was having some kind of reunion or anniversary, and I was asked to send in a picture of me. So I sent in a picture of me and Elizabeth Taylor, cat on the hot tin roof. And I said to the person who asked for it, she could use Photoshop to take out my TA if she wanted to. But she took it all out, by the way. The last 12 months, roughly, have been chaotic for Artis and me. And it's sort of like Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. And we went down a rabbit hole, and during our travels, we had little control. And one thing was, in our private lives, we downsized, prepared our house for sale, sold it, we bought a place here, refurbished the apartment, and had 2 moving companies, one for furniture and one for repair, to come here. Artis had 2 outpatient surgeries, I had 1. I lost a good friend, Floyd Brandt, some of you know, and my favorite cousin. So it was quite chaotic, and so we made it through. The other, in fact, the rabbit was Kim Reese. She called us, or actually emailed and said, we have a place for you. We've been waiting for several years, and we really had to scramble. The other one that I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about was a guy who worked for an advertising agency in Chicago, and he wanted to talk to me, and I thought it was some sort of scam, and maybe it was. We'll see as we proceed. But I wrote the lyrics for this song with Judy help, and so we're going to sing this together. It'll be the first time it's ever been performed. So you're at a this is a serious occasion. This is the first time it's ever been performed, and maybe the last, but we'll see. So let's go for it.
everybody, you know how this works. You've got the words on your paper, so you know the tune. I know you do. Oh, Christmas tree. So, look. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a little intro.
Yes, I think so. And maybe, you think they would take all of us on America Got Talent? We could write in and see. But at any rate, the next part I'm going to show you is the, let me turn this on. If you'll give me a hand, Oswald. I'm going to show you. Can you hear it?
Dear Dramamine, hello, my name is Bruce Kelly. I'm writing you on behalf of the Bark Bag community.
Have you ever used a bark bag? Never did. That's it. Just do it. That's it. No, I'm doing it for the. Yeah, I just like lay here and just kind of.
Jalapeno linguine.
But it just comes out and it sprays all over Felipe. It's just this queasy, uneasy, awful.
You good? Yeah.
And it came through my nose. Like, there's got to be a special term for that.
That's called nasal pharyngeal reflux. Nausea is the unpleasant sensation of being being about to vomit. Vomiting is the forceful expulsion of gastric contents.
Upchuck, throw up, hurl, puke, spew, blowing chunks, blowing bits, chunky bits.
Your tummy hurts. You force the contents up your esophagus, out your mouth. Wow.
This is the current bag from KLM, Dutch Airlines. It's a Dutch house. LAN Chile, Iberia, a lot, Polish airline. Oh, in every bag you see here is a different airline.
Wow.
So these are the bags. They're all alphabetized. They're all in binders. I could go into any one of these and show and flip through them and show you ones that I think I like. Apparently, you throw up and then disappear. Yeah, there it is. Delineation. It's kind of humorous. See a reindeer throwing up.
This is one of the bags that any collector would love to have. The reindeer logo barfing ice cubes.
Yeah, barf bags come in a lot of different things. Here's Cannibal Girls vomit bag. Cannibal Girls again. They brought out 2 types. And a third one. Ah, some of these are old friends. I haven't seen them for a while.
There's a professor who's an expert in Middle Ages Latin at UT. And I said, what is a dignified name for airsick bags? And he came up with the term nauseavat. I think that's what they should be called. And I'm a nauseavatologist. This is not a barf bag, it's a nauseavat.
The man who invented the barf bag as we know it today was, you could say he was a scientist. His name was Gilmore Sheldon. When I say you could say he was a scientist, he was totally self-taught. He got 16 patents for his work in thermoplastics and resins and polymers, but never graduated high school, let alone college. And the reality was that, you know, in those days, in the late 40s, you were going to get a very bumpy, smelly, gassy, oily ride. There was a lot of turbulence, a lot of people got sick, and obviously you saw a need.
This is the very first graduating class when the airline started. We had the graduation on the Queen Mary, which is really cool. One time I was walking to the back of the plane, it was super turbulent, and somebody was trying to get to the bathroom to throw up, and they actually barfed, and it went into my shoes. And I'm walking to the back of the plane, I'm literally sloshing, my feet are coming out of my shoes going, slosh.
Part of my collection is to collect something that no one else collects. That's number one. Number two is I like collecting things that when they are made, they are not intended to be collected. They are, I think in this world there's a lot of what I call phony collectibles, things that are made to be the limited edition, this or that. And there can't be a more pedestrian fixture than an air sickness bag, because they are definitely made to be thrown away.
It's got the right level of absurdity. They're easy to collect because they're flat, and some people it's interesting. Some people like you guys, I don't believe it, but you find it interesting, so it's great.
Is there a holy grail barf bag in the collector world?
I will get it for you. So you see a picture of the spaceman on there? That is from the space shuttle.
Have you taken it out of there?
I have never taken it out of there.
I don't want to ask.
I might do it if I. So you see, it's got the spaceman and the raspberry drizzle and the part number and all that official NASA stuff. And look at that. I'm a little afraid to take this out any more than that.
Cool.
But
thank you.
Thank you for urging me to do that, because I wanted to do that for a while, but just never had the. Actually, I don't think about it day to day, but.
Well, it has not been a good pickup line, put it that way. It's, people look at me, sort of, would you say that again? When you use it, you look down at the beautiful painting. In contrast, most airsick bags are like this. So when you use them, the picture is upside down.
It actually started after we were together and we were traveling. And he tells a story of how he was bored on the airplane and he started looking up reading material and there wasn't that much in the pocket, but he was intrigued with the barf bags, and he thought, nobody collects these, I think I should.
Oh. Well, once you start a collection, it's hard to give it up. You know, it's there, you look at a bag and you don't have it, and you think, well, I can't let this one slip through my fingers, so these are all my collection, all these binders, and just open one up. They're all in individual sleeves. Right now I've got about 7,500 different ones from about 1,000 different airlines. The older bags, you can't even find them anymore. Nobody saved them. Very difficult to find them.
What are you printing?
A graph that's showing the growth we've seen in Dramamine sales and the inverse relationships of barf bags. So I've never actually seen it laid out like this, but the connection can be clearer.
Do you think it's possible that Dramamine is actually killing off the barf bag?
I'm measured on numbers. I'd be pretty excited because that means we're growing. And, you know, we're doing well and doing something right.
It's been great. I mean, great growth. We've been growing our product line and launching a lot of new products to help people. So it's been amazing.
When we go to the stores and we see all of the product that we produce here, and then to see how it helps a lot of people with the nausea, it feels great to say like, oh my God, this is what we make. You see the hard work of everybody, how it pays off when you actually see it in the store. So it's pretty cool.
What's really moved the needle in the fight against motion sickness has been innovation, new forms, new ingredients that fit in the nausea space, and then dressing it up, trying to make it taste good and deliver something that consumers want.
Dear Dramamine, hello, my name is Bruce Kelly, and I've been collecting barf bags for many years. I'm writing you on behalf of the barf bag community. We've noticed for a while that quality barf bags are getting harder to find. People rarely use them anymore, and they certainly don't appreciate them. Your product works well, but we wonder if it maybe works a little too well. If people aren't barfing, they aren't using barf bags. I recently read that 2024 is the 75th anniversary of Dramamine. You might be surprised to know that another great American invention turned 75 this year, the barf bag. Maybe this isn't a coincidence. Maybe their two fates are intertwined. To us, it's always been more than just a barf bag. Like Dramamine, it's a monument to American ingenuity and problem solving. And it's been a wonderful way to meet lifelong friends. Reach out anytime if you'd like to chat. Sincerely, Bruce Kelly, barf bag collector. Wow.
How would you respond to the statement, Dramamine is killing the barf bag?
Man, Dramamine sucks.
If they died, they should die with dignity rather than disregarded or joked about.
It seems to me Dramamine is killing the barf bags. If you could save them, would you?
Not for barfing, because like I said, I'm kind of anti-barf. But yeah, I think there's so many ways to use the bag that don't have to have someone getting sick, and I think that'd be fun, and it also keep the history alive.
By the way, I think that Dramamine didn't cure bark bags, and if you fly on airlines, you find them always, and they're generic ones. I think they were penny pinching and recognized a good way of doing some advertising. So we'll see. Okay. Now I've got a PowerPoint slide presentation to show you. There we go.
Yes.
All right. You will see that Texas Monthly declared my collection to be the foremost in the country. August 7th, I made this presentation, and neither I nor my collection was appreciated fully. So I'm back 104 days later, and I'm going to show you some additional scientific research and present to you, I've already done that, music that will be hung for generations. Anyone dispute that? Okay, good. Good. And I have a little asterisk there. Since I'm a professor, my footnotes have footnotes. Would composer Leonard Bernstein and his Bears be envious if they were here today? Think about that. Is Beethoven's Fifth a bottle of whiskey? You probably never imagined that. Is there a composer named Johann Taco? Anyway. My history with this is, when I was a doctoral student at Indiana, I was insulted by a professor. I don't think he meant to be, but he was a bit arrogant. And he had taught international business, and he had opened up Procter & Gamble's operations in Europe, made a lot of money. And he told me at that time he had made the largest purchase for a postage stamp ever made. And he said there are philatelists. Those are people who have exquisite taste and lots of money. There are stamp collectors who have decent taste and not very much money. And there are accumulators who have neither. Now, I'm an accumulator, and I'll show you support that in a minute. I was also discouraged by Prince Rainier. I was in Monaco, and in the palace on the side of the wall was a window like you would see in Tiffany's or Harry Winston, and a little stand. It wasn't a solitaire ring, it was a postage stamp. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt was also a big postage stamp collector, but they're in the big leagues and not me. So I wanted to have a collection that I would be world-class at. And not only did that, I became the world's foremost, so I was quite successful. And I wanted dignity, so as I mentioned in the tape, I spoke to a professor who knew Middle Latin, and he suggested the name Nausevat, and I extended it to nausevatology. And I'm a nausevatologist. I have made a study of nausevats. And I've done my scientific research in underlying its history. Now here's the postage stamps. You can't see them very well. But in the bottom, you'll see there are 8 stamp books. This was taken in my apartment, our apartment. And so I have thousands of stamps, probably 2 or 3 are worth something. And up above are pictures of, let's see if I get that. This is a stamp, you can't see it, but the very upmost one, its sale price in current in the dollars at their time was over 17 million, and with inflation it got up to over 34 million. So there's no hope for me there, but there was in Nosovets. Here's the history, the noble history of Nosovets. And so I won't go through it, but study it carefully because it's going to be on your test. Okay? This is the first known picture of a Nosovet. And it's hand-drawn, but it bears a remarkable resemblance to this papyrus that's in the British Museum. Quite remarkable, isn't it? Okay. Artists and I were in the Colosseum in Rome, and I looked down, and in the floor there was some cloth covered up with concrete. And I studied it carefully and concluded that's the sack of Rome. And anybody who has evidence to the contrary, I defy you to present it. So at any rate. And I'm certain it was used for Nosovets. Okay. To pee or not to pee, that is the question. For those not liberal arts majors, this is called a literary illusion. My son Andrew and I went to Berlin and we ate at this restaurant. It's the oldest restaurant in Berlin, opening its doors in 1561. And here are the men and women's bathrooms. Europeans are much more open about things like this than we are. Except Schultz Beer Garden. I made a scientific expedition there too. And this is in the main entrance portion, and I want to point out that the door on the left is pretty clear who should go in there. A guy, looks like a guy to me, and Heron means guy. On the right, there are, we know 5 ways. There's the lady or the guy, Damon, that means lady. Then above it says woman, it's very small print, and then it says damas, and then there's a picture of a woman, the symbol, 5 times. That seems like overkill to me. The reason I show you that, here are bathrooms in Scotland. And notice you only, on the one on the left, you only see one indication of who should go in. And I think they should clarify whether that includes someone with a kilt. Oh, by the way, anybody guess why there are 5 for women and only 2 for men? I think it's to keep men out of that room. And after a few beers, those are subtle distinctions that may miss. And also, I met a sexton at the Presbyterian church that Adam Smith used to attend in Edinburgh, and he said that the Scots are all socialist. In fact, I saw a demonstration in first communist flag I'd ever seen in real life. And so I think that they should have fixed the toilet, don't you think? Okay. Impressive. That Fraulein with her whistle and her 9 mugs of beer. And it reminded me of Popeye. Remember Popeye the Sailor? Isn't that phony? Anybody know a sailor that ate spinach? I think, who's the character below? Betty Boop, exactly right. Look at the dress on the left, scanty. The censors got a hold of Betty Boop and made her wear a full piece of cloth. So I think the censors took a mug of beer out of Popeye's hand and put the spinach there. Barfie is ubiquitous in Germany. And there are all sorts of statues, and this is on a medieval church. You see those everywhere. Here are pictures of 4 German bathrooms, and in it they have what they call up the yellow line going up to the words over the toilet in the top right says it's a nosovatoria. And so if you're throwing up, you can hold on. And I just use the plural nosovatoria in case you're an engineering major when you were at college. It's plural. So the Germans are very thoughtful about throwing things like I think we can learn from notable nosovets. These are 2. The large one, Air France, is the first airsick bag I collected. And I flew from here to Houston to Paris and back first class airline, and it was the food was lavish and the airsick bag was big. Garuda is a regional airline in Indonesia, and they must just pass out peanuts on that plane because it's a tiny little bag. I had a case competition. I took a group of students to the University of Virginia, and we flew on Delta Airline, and they won the competition, so they signed, as you see, case competition champion, and they all signed the bag. My high school English teacher and 2 of my classmates of the class of 1960 went to Las Vegas in 1989, and they opened this bag up. The middle portion was by my teacher, and the flaps on either side were written by my classmates, which was quite thoughtful. This is autographed by the American ambassador to Indonesia. This is the most tactless airsick bag in my collection. As you see, a vomit bag. That's not very nice. And it was on a ferry, not an airplane, by the way. Here's the grossest. Look at that. That's for a restaurant. Would you want to go back there? They need a good marketing major. Here's the most tactful cleaning bag. That's quite nice. Most beautiful and tasteful. And it is, I brought this to show you. It's gorgeous. But the great thing is when you use it, this is, in stamps we'd call this mint or uncirculated. But when you use it, you go like this, and you see the bag right side up. In contrast, most other bags, like this one, if you see it upside down. I had something over 400 airsick bags in my collection. Let's see here. Okay. In a week, it'll be a year ago that I got a call from this advertising agency in Chicago. And I thought they were trying to con me. Didn't make any sense at all. But what they said is they read about my collection in a Texas Monthly article. And so they wanted to talk to me about it more. And I didn't know all this stuff that you just saw about the plans at Dramamine. So I finally agreed to do it. And remember, we were going down the rabbit hole, so things were crazy, but I said, why not? So anyway, I had to sign a confidentiality agreement. And then a limousine came to Austin and picked me up and took me to a house in Giddings where they filmed the interview that you saw in the documentary. Our house was in disarray because we were preparing for the move. Then they prepared the last barf bag documentary you just saw. They then had a pop-up museum in New York City, and I was docent for it. And I adopted a persona. And I had many interviews and reports done about it. The documentary was a great success at the Cannes Film Festival, as you'll see in a minute. And then finally, my collection is on display I sold it to them, is on display in their headquarters in some town just north of New York City. And incidentally, for doing the interview in Giddings, I got $2,000. For going to New York, I got expenses paid in $1,000. And they bought my collection for $1,400. So anyway. But that don't tell the IRS. So, any rate, so let me just show you some slides. What triggered all of this was I had my collection in a bunch of ring binders, fat ones like this, in sleeves that were kept like that, like the guy with barf bag on his license plate. And it took up too much space to move into our apartment, so I condensed them into 2 shoe boxes. And I was, shortly before I retired from UT, I was teaching an undergraduate seminar on Adam Smith. And I had a young student in the class, a female student, who gave me this airsick bag, and that's a picture of Edinburgh, and that's the church that Adam Smith attended. I didn't think anything about it till I was sorting through the bags and realized that was hand-drawn. So the student's name is Leah, and she had drawn this. So that was quite astonishing to me. And I looked her up, I Googled her and found her, and we had a nice visit. And she told me she had a good friend who is Leah's a reporter and editor for Texas Monthly. She says she had a colleague who did the same thing, who did stories on either brilliant people or people with odd collections. I can't remember which. Which was it? This is Taylor right here.
Both. Brilliant people with collections.
You're very diplomatic. Thank you. Okay. It's spreading like wildfire. I think I'm really making something happen. This is a picture of my, taken in the bathroom of my grandniece's house they live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I gave them starter collections. And they didn't add to them, but they did frame them and put them in the bathroom. By the way, several of you have told me stories in confidence about your airsick bag experience. I was hoping to get groupies and an agent. I didn't get any. But I did acquire a novice, and so she is going to devote herself to nosopatologists, I think. So, and she's studying for exams tonight. Couldn't come, I guess. Anyway, this was where Taylor interviewed me in the kitchen. Those are the boxes in which I kept my bags. This is the article she wrote, October 14, 2022, and it's the world's foremost collector. so I didn't misrepresent anything. And and she wrote, I got to tell you as well that Mike Levy, founder of Texas Monthly, emailed me to know he thoroughly enjoyed reading about your collection. So I was impressed. He's an impressive man, so I was delighted with that. Here's a picture of me with a Nausevat. You may have seen some of these. These are contemporary ones. And we were in Utah a month or so ago, and artist wasn't feeling well, so we went to a minor emergency. And so they had a big stack of these airsick bags. They're collapsible. And the interesting thing about them is they're graded by volume, so you can see. I've never been that curious. The doctor may like me. But at any rate, well, I'll see. You just saw that. They made, after that, the tape. They interviewed me for 5 hours for that tiny fraction of 13 minutes. This is the pop-up museum, and the dark door on the far right is the viewing room where you could go in there and watch the documentary. And then my collection is on the right wall back there, and then the other collectors have their airsick bags there, and the space shuttle airsick bag was in one of those stands. This young lady teaches advertising in New York, and she brought her class to see the collection, and she asked if she could have her picture taken with me. And I just, in case there would be any doubt, I wanted everybody to know what a professor looked like. So. This is me sitting in a Dramamine, as you may have concluded, is their company color. And it's that seat is, I don't know how they got it, but it's from Turkish Airlines. And so they had me sit there, and I wore, this is the outfit I wore when I went there, but they had a jacket custom made for me. And they said, would I mind wearing it? And I said, well, I sang in the Austin Chord Rangers years ago, and I had a yellow tuxedo, so this was not difficult. And also, I had as you see, I've always wanted a pith helmet. Someday I'll learn how to pronounce it. Okay. An Austinite made this puff jacket out of, they're actually copies onto plastic of airsick bags. It was on display in the museum. Advertising Age ran a big article, and it's read all over the world, so it helped explode the knowledge of my collection. And see, there's my favorite bag right there. Here's me posting up the various airsick bags, and in many of them, I had notes from the person who gave them to me, so it was quite interesting. I'll show you one other one. It didn't make it here, but this is autographed and addressed to me at our old address, and then on the back is a nice message. And I don't want to squeal on him, but Dan Wilson took a lot of airsick bags and wrote cartoons on them and gave them to his colleagues. So there are all sorts of stories in here. I hope you don't mind my squealing on you. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I need that. This is my last bag, not Dramamines, but last. And they, in that pop-up museum, they had all sorts of repurposed airsick bags, suggesting that they can be a vase. And so I got everybody, all the people with the agency. And by the way, there were all sorts of other companies that were subcontracted to the big agency. And when I was in Elgin, there were probably 10 people there, including 2 just working with sound. 2 were doing the videos, and the other got a free ride to Austin. Okay, so this is an advertisement. Again, there's an IM, and it indicates that it won some awards at Cannes in health and wellness and outdoor. Okay, that's one of the awards, and that's a Grand Prix. Let me just read this. Cannes is, and this is a quote from one of their employees. Cannes is incredibly competitive and most sought after award week in creativity. Each year, only 10% of all the entries make the short list, and only 3% win the award. The chance for a bronze medal is 1.7%. To win the grand prize, it's less than 0.07%. And for liberal arts majors, that's 1 in 1,000. I was a liberal arts major, by the way. Okay, but you can see they won 1 Grand Prix, 2 silver, 1 bronze, and they got recognition in 11 other categories. So it was, and she said it was, the person that said it in the letter said it was career making. It's a nasty business. And at the same time, I won't read all of this, but this is from Screen Magazine. While all this was going on, Pfizer stopped their account with this advertising agency, and they had to lay off 9% of their staff. So about 800 people lost their jobs because of that. So it's really tough. Okay. Now, about my persona. Who do I look like? Carefully. Anyway, you can, I retract that question. By the way, I just noticed here, Leah wrote a message on the back of the bag, and it's 12/19/2015. Okay, so I showed you the sack of Rome. Let me show you, we've got just a few more minutes, let me show you Socrates' finger. And there are 2 stories that merge. There's a little town 15 kilometers north of Athens called Daphne. And they have a wine festival, and they have laid out in a park hogsheads of wine. And you could buy a liter earthenware pitcher, or a half-liter earthenware pitcher, or a little glass. And I never had much experience drinking wine, so I bought some British biscuits, and I would take a taste of them to get rid of the taste of the previous one. But there was a cultural disconnect, because I would say, I want this much wine. And in Greece, this much wine means this much from the top. And I was taught, waste not, want not. And so, at any rate, the next day, I woke up in a hotel. I'd been staying in a youth hostel. I woke up in a hotel. It turned out some Americans led me back to their hotel, got a room, and then went on to Italy. And in my shirt pocket, I had all of my money, the remainder of the biscuits, and this little glass. And it shows a guy holding a container of wine. He's wearing a toga, waist up, and he has holding his head for a headache probably. And this is not dated 1964. And the other part of the story, that's part one. I was at the Acropolis and nosing around on the side. There's the Theater of Dionysius, I think it is. In fact, I saw a performance there. The Greek king was in attendance. And there was an area where there was construction taking place. And I from birth, I've been very inquisitive. And so there was the ground was badly eroded. And I was just looking around. And I saw what looked like a soccer ball. And I said, that's a skull. And I said, you're being romanticizing. So as I walked by, I kicked it and it crumbled. And sure enough, it was a skull. So I looked down and I took a digit of the finger and brought it back. I tried to get somebody at UT to carbonate it, but he said he needed to see the context. And if he took a large enough sample, I wouldn't have any finger left. And I said to him, is there any evidence that this finger did not belong to Socrates? And he said no. And so I think I've narrowed it to two possibilities. Either this belonged to Socrates or it belonged to some dumb kid from Texas who was snooping around where he shouldn't be. I don't know which would be the case. At any rate, let's see. Closing thoughts. There comes a time in your life when you walk away from all the drama and the people who create it. You surround yourself with people who make you laugh. Forget the bad and focus on the good. Love the people who treat you right. Pray for the ones who do not. Life is too short to be anything but happy. Jose Harris, an author, American author. And finally, living well is the best revenge. Oscar Wilde. He lived too well, by the way. But I think that's good advice for all of us. So before I finish, I have a gift for Taylor. In fact, yes, you'll treasure it.
Is it the bag?
No. And by the way, I debated, I got, as I say, $4,400. I thought about giving you some of the money since it wouldn't have happened without you. But I figured you don't care very much about money. You'd rather have something like this. So. So here, let me hold it.
Yes.
All righty. So those of you who have time might want to seek autographs. Of course, Ruth and our musicians, let's give them a hand, shall we? They'll be around. But as I say, you know, if you have a Mickey Mouse baseball card, what is that worth? A vast sum. When this wins an Emmy, it will be worth a lot of money if they're autographed. That's the key. So keep that in mind. All right, thank you.